that got voided? You said the Brave.
Was a $1 paid out like 9 grand.
Oh, dude. So wait, they don't just like let it keep going. It's just like when one doesn't, it just voids the whole thing.
Uh, no, they let it keep going, but they always slash your odds when just one goes. Like it's not the same as if you were to bet five instead of six legs. It seems
Yeah.
like it slashes it considerably. So like a lot of the times, it seems like it cuts like 50% of it.
Um. All right. Wait. I'm just checking mine right now. Guardians, Padres are looking good. Yankees, Mets, hit, bang. Brewers, Twins, bang. So I need two more runs, three more runs, runs in the Indians game,
Nice.
and I hit that three-teamer. Let's go. And then I need the Panthers just wow. Then that's over. Okay. Well, I don't even know why I looked at that. That's great. They're getting beat 6-1. Wow. Guess it's over for Florida. Uh is your video on your phone?
Oh,
Boom. I guess it's over for Florida then. The Florida teams made it to the Stanley Cup and the NBA Finals. I guess both of these are their last nights.
got beat 4-1.
Let's go ahead and let's just jump right into our first topic. Heat, Nuggets. I think, to me, I think everyone wanted the Cinderella story of the Heat to come in and win, but I don't think anyone disagrees that the Nuggets were the best team in NBA this year.
Yeah, there's just they were consistent all season long. They had enough depth that there was always one guy would step up with Jokic. Murray was having an off night. The other guys would pick up the slack, and they always found a way to win.
Yeah. I think there was a lot that happened after All-Star break this year. And the Nuggets were one of few teams that not only played consistently, but they played exceptionally well. A lot of teams in the East, which here's the deal. I'm a firm believer in this. The 76ers beat the Celtics. The Heat don't beat the Sixers. I think the Sixers win. I think the Sixers go and play very competitively against the Nuggets. That was the best. I think the best team from the East to beat the Nuggets matchup wise was the Sixers. The Sixers decided to have their worst game of the season on a game 7, and Jason Tatum started to play one of his best games of his career on a game 7 and sent the Sixers home. And that was that. But I think of the East after what happened All-Star break, I think the Celtics took a big dip. I think the Cavs were too inconsistent. The Sixers apparently couldn't finish, and the Heat were just playing like a Cinderella story team, and it just came to an end against a really, really good team in the West, which I think we all kind of thought in the West. I was pulling for the Kings, but I think if you go back to our previous podcast, I mean, we're saying this. The Joker is. How many times have you said it? Joker is Joker. Jokic
Yeah,
is Jokic. The dude that should have won MVP. Should
should
have
have won
been
triple
right.
double.
You know what I'm saying? The guy week in and week out, not just after but all season, played great basketball, team basketball. It was no joke that they won. I was again, as a fan, I'm hoping the Heat can win, but the Nuggets are the real deal.
Yeah, I mean, they just they always do the right play. They always play as a team. There's nobody that's selfish. Nobody's worried about getting their numbers. They feed the hot hand, and they just want to win. That's all they care about.
I think the cooler story too from the Nuggets. I know a lot of people are talking about Jokic. I think the better story is the Murray story. about how Murray goes and gets his injury last year. And I love how the head coach, he kind of talked about it too, about Murray went to him and was like, "So are you guys like, does that mean I'm done? Like, are you going to trade me?" And coach was like, "No, you're our guy. We're going to rehab you. We're going to get you right. And we're going to come back and win." And like, again, the spotlight's all on Jokic, but I think the Nuggets are such a good team because they are a team. And I think that was the Heat's problem all season. I think they got to where they were just not off pure luck. I mean, Jimmy Butler willed them there, but there were times in that game and this past series where the role players were just kind of waiting for Jimmy to take over, and they
Mm.
weren't really like providing any support. Whereas the Nuggets, if Jokic isn't doing well, don't worry. You got Murray, you got all those guys that can just spot up, hit shots, hit mid-range jumpers. I think mid-range jumpers were a big difference for the Nuggets. They could knock down those mid-range two-pointers. And like you said, they played good team ball.
Yeah, I think that the bigger part of what stopped the Heat in this finals was just Aaron Gordon's individual defense and just not allowing Jimmy Butler to get it going. And I don't know if he had but one, two 10-point games in the last two series, but his defense was a big part of the reason why they won that championship. And it's always good to have that guy on your team that he's not worried about score. He just wants to go out and shut down the best scorer on the other team. And Gordon's got the size, speed, strength, just all around athleticism to be able to do that at any time. I mean, look at the list of guys that he was matched up again in the playoffs. So Jimmy Butler in the finals, Western Conference Finals was LeBron. Don't know if I'm getting the order correctly, but I believe they played the Suns before that, so he was matched up with Durant. And I can't remember who they played in round one at this point, but
I believe they had a bye. They have a bye.
they were the one seed.
Yeah. So
No, they would have played whoever the eight seed was.
the
Uh,
Mavericks? No, no, the Mavericks didn't even make it. I don't know where we're at. It was so long ago. But yes, you're right, 100%. And yeah, and again, you take away a guy like Jimmy, who is so number one on the Heat, and no one else steps up. I mean, they had the one guy, what's that tall white boy, 50, 55 for the Heat. Um, the,
Zeller?
yeah, he played all right in spurts,
Oh,
but
no, you're talking about Duncan Robinson.
yeah, he played all right in spurts, but just it wasn't enough. Um,
Yeah.
but
Another
speking
thing
of
that killed
defense,
him was not having
yeah,
Hero there.
yeah, I mean that I thought he was rumored to dress last night.
He was, but he just never went out there, never got his number called.
It was a fear
I saw
tactic.
something where he said that he was concerned with how well the team was playing. He didn't want to come in and mess up the flow or the chemistry of things after being out for a while. But man, as a competitor, I mean, no offense to whoever my backup ever was, but I always felt like if I'm at 70%, if I can play even partially, I want to be out there. Like
Yeah,
I'm going to think that I'm going to be able to help my team. But
I think he would have made a difference. I mean, it was a 5 point game. I think he would have made a difference in this whole series. I think the Heat, again, we said this before about the Heat. The Heat are one player away, one more support player away from being a dominant team in the East. And that was with Hero playing. You take
mhm.
away that, now they're down two. And it's like, and again, congrats, tip of the cap to the Heat for them the season that they had. But I don't want to take away from the Nuggets.
Oh,
I think,
Chris,
yeah, I think the best story was the
put
video that came out.
left and right.
Yeah, I think the best story though is the video that came out with Jokic finding out that the parade is on Thursday and him
Go
saying no,
home.
no, I just want to go home. It's not going to work. I think that's the storyline right there. Uh, I
I
didn't know
did
he.
before the season's over. I want to relax now.
Yeah, I didn't know he had so many horses.
Me
Uh,
neither.
I didn't know he was a horse guy. I mean, could you imagine his big ass getting in a on a horse and racing horses? I mean, jockeys are like 5'2". He is not a typical
Getting on
jockey.
anything less than a Clydesdale.
Yeah, right. That's got to be a big old horse to be racing that guy. Um, but yeah, I think overall Nuggets deserved it. Um, I was talking with my buddy Tony. He's a Phillies fan, and we were kind of talking about kind of the same thing we were just discussing. And it's like, even he could argue, yeah, Jokic could have deserved the MVP. And it's like, you answer the question. It's like, well, at the end of the day, would you rather win an MVP and no championship, or would you rather not win MVP and win a championship?
Give me
And
the
that's
tip.
yeah, and that's really what it comes down to. And I think that is like perfect
And that's
description
what
of
you
Jokic.
said too during the whole MVP race. Is, all right, I'm not worried about that. We're trying to win the finals. We want to
And,
win a championship.
and I think that's what separates Jokic from a lot of the players in the league right now. I mean, it goes back to when you were talking about when they were asking, NBA superstars what they would do if played on a JV, they played in a JV game. And
Yeah.
he was just like, I don't know, I would do whatever it took to win. And I think that's been his attitude. That's why he's so great. And that's why they're NBA champions. That's why they get to hold up the trophy this year.
Very humble dude too. I don't know if you caught saw people talking about it a lot today, but I noticed right after the game, he went up to every single player on the Heat and shook their hand before he
Yeah.
celebrated at all or went and high fived any of his teammates. And that shows a lot of respect.
Yeah, they showed it was like 53 seconds of Nikola Jokic shaking every single Heat player's hand before even celebrating. All right. You know what, though? We talk about class. Okay. Championship, professional, highest level. That's how you act after a win, right? We go
Act like
back to
you're before even if you haven't.
we go back to the whole dilemma about Angel Reese. And I know I hate bringing this up, but like same thing. You just won a championship. Look at the difference between that, right? There's that little bit of humbleness, right? And people put that on oh, you're picking on her because whatever. But it's like, no, it's just like that's how you act when you win, right?
Yeah.
You this the highest level. Jokic could have very well been a fool and a clown and talk crap to all the Heat players, but for 53 seconds, that man went and shook every single Heat player's hand and then celebrated with his team. That's class.
Yeah.
And I think that's what kind of Portnoy was talking about. It's like it's classy, and then there's classless. That was classy what he did.
Yeah. And I'm not saying I don't even think I got that kind of class. I would have celebrated a little bit, right? As soon as I clock hit zero, I'm hugging one of my teammates, high five somebody first. We go shake hands and be respectful about it too. But he just held all the emotion and like didn't even look like they had won yet, and just was like, all right, still business as usual until he got done. Then he kind of like finally started to crack a smile and was like, all right,
But again, I think that's what separates this man from a lot of the players in the league right now. And they were putting up today on ESPN like they were voting who the best center was all time. And Jokic only had about 3% of the votes. I think Shaq had like 50%. And it's like I still think he's a far ways away from being the greatest of all time center, but he's on the right path. He's on the right path, and he has a couple more seasons like he did this year, a couple more championships. We're going to be talking about this man. Could be, I hope he is at least. I'm a big fan. Could be one of the best to ever do it.
yeah. I mean, post Shaq, he's the best center that I can think of in my lifetime. I just don't know how he would match up against a prime young Shaquille O'Neal with that type of speed. I feel like Shaq would probably still eat his cookies.
Yeah. Well, me and Tony were talking about the same thing. He's a
He's
freak.
Yeah, it was unreal.
I mean, just I think there was only one guy I thought could have stopped Shaq, and it was Yao Ming. And even Yao Ming at 7 foot couldn't
So 4, 5, yeah, whatever he was.
I mean, did held his own, but Shaq still dominated him. Well, what I mean, if you're the Nuggets, you had a great I mean, this is a great team. What does your offseason look like here? Do you try to just keep what you got? Like, who do you go after? I mean, if you're the other teams in the NBA, is it Are we focusing on big men right now to who's going to stop Jokic and like
I think you have to because that's go back to the Cavs being a Cleveland fan. That's one of the things that killed us is Jared Allen's great at going out on the perimeter, picking up guards. He's a great shot blocker, but when he gets up against a bulkier center, he gets bullied around. And I feel like the league's starting to show, kind of go back to those big, strong centers again with the top two MVP candidates. And let's be honest, Giannis is basically a center that just handles the ball. He's
yep.
7 foot tall, not shooting really much from outside. I'm excited to see what the Spurs can do with their first overall pick and that Victor Wembanyama, or whatever the guy's name is from France.
Yeah.
He's gonna need to put some meat on him, but whoo-wee.
And here's the other thing. I don't think Bam did a bad job.
No,
He
no,
played he
Bam,
played he played great, I
Bam
thought.
was anchored. I was surprised that the refs let them play as much as they did last night.
There was that streak, I think it was 76, 79, and there was just like five defensive stops in a row on both sides. And it was just like there were a couple that could have been ticky-tacky calls, but those refs let that play, and it was just pure. It was like that's basketball. Like that looked good. Yeah,
It was
he was
fun to
banging.
watch. I
Let
got
me
excited
bang,
at the
bro.
point. Bam and Jokic were getting at it. Like they're looking at each other after the plays, looking at the refs, like, man, they're
Like,
really letting us do this. Well, whatever. I'm gonna keep pushing until they're both gonna keep pushing until a foul's called and see how far they can
yeah,
go.
it was good basketball, wasn't it?
Yeah.
There were some of those plays that stretch. There was like probably like 4 or 5 minutes where I don't think a point was scored. It was just pure, just obliteration on both sides. Again, stuff where you're like, okay, no whistle. All right.
I can't remember who the player was for the Heat. I want to say it might have been like Kyle Lowry or Caleb Martin, but Jokic just launched somebody in the back underneath, threw
Yes.
him down and like went flying across the ground.
Lowry.
Next thing
Yes,
you
it
know,
was
Bam
Lowry.
comes in right up from the side right after that and just shoulder checks him back and pushes him back, and it just kept going. They're just letting him play. I'm like, man, poor long. I was waiting for somebody to just go full on WWE and just like spear somebody.
Yeah, it was definitely it was some hard, yeah, right. You definitely thought there was gonna be a fight breaking out, but I don't know. It was just good basketball. It's
Kurt
like,
Ramsey to come in swinging from the side.
yeah, Udonis coming out.
Yeah.
Um, no, man, it was good. So tip of the cast to the Nuggets. Um, be interesting to see how this offseason plays out. I think you're right. I think big men have to be the center point for a lot of these teams this year because I think there's a lot of good guards out in the league right now. I don't think this league you can solely focus on just 3-point shooting. Because anyone can, not anyone, but like it's a lot easier to find people that can handle the ball and shoot the three. But if you have a team that can already do that, plus a big guy who can, facilitate a game, bring the ball up and down the court, be a role player, be just a dominant force every time he touches the ball, that's what wins championships, I believe.
Yep. Just got to find that good balance.
Um, all right, switching gears. So I'm going to start with this. So this is breaking news, by the way. I just got this alert, have it on my phone. So Live Golf, this was last week, and we didn't really talk about it last week because we were talking about Kobe. But last week, PGA Tour and Live Golf are on a merger. Breaking news, though. PGA Tour Commissioner Jay Monahan is recovering from a medical situation while others are assuming daily operations. This is coming after this happened Tuesday night, following a week's worth of stressful situations involving the merger.
Hmm. He was
No,
asking until he just
yeah,
signed up for
no other information provided.
feeling waterboarded.
I did just see, and this is weird, you don't see this too often, sports and politics. Congress is saying that they're upset with PGA Tour's involvement with the merger.
Really? I didn't see that's Man,
Following Trump's indictment, we're not a political show. We're not. But there's a lot of stuff that's really cross-pollinating right now.
I mean, they got a lot of oil money over there.
So I was reading. There was a guy. Let me fact check this real quick.
Is this the
Um,
start of America losing all the top athletes?
Let me fact check you real quick.
So you already got most of the top soccer players in the world are
Here we
outside the
go.
US.
Jimmy Dune. Okay, Jimmy. I want to talk about this. That's the guy's name because I want to correct this. Jimmy Dune. Let me get the actual name right. Jimmy Dune is the guy who's credited with the merger. He's the guy who sent the first WhatsApp message to both sides saying, "Hey, there's something. There's got to be a common ground. Let's meet somewhere in the middle." So Jimmy Dune. Now Jimmy Dune um, is a power broker in the financial world with deep personal connections to 9/11. Okay, was a former pretty scratch golfer on the 9/11. Okay, his company, which let me find the name of the company. So I want to get this right.
Some interesting stuff right here.
This is really good stuff because you're
Going
gonna be
down
like,
the
okay,
rabbit hole.
yes, because this is actually good stuff. All right, Piper Sandler, an investment bank operation. His company on 9/11 was on the floor of the Twin Towers that got hit. He lost 60 staff. I think it was like 95% of his company. He was qualifying for a golf for the Open. His partner told him to go qualify because it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. Stopped him mid round. Official stopped him mid round and say, "Hey, you need to go watch the news." At the clubhouse, watch the planes hit the building. So he has deep personal ties to this whole thing. The company that's backing Live was somehow the same company, not that the guys who are running it currently, but that company was involved, had people that were involved in the 9/11 terrorist attacks.
Mhm.
He reached out, met with them, went and had cigars, went I think it was London, they said, met, got a feel for him, and he said, and he's reported, he said, he's like, I met with these guys. I had a good night. We had a good conversation. Um, I have full faith that they are not in any way involved with what happened on 9/11. And if they were, or if I come to find out that they were, I'll kill them myself. But I think that this is the right move for Live Golf and PGA Tour. So a guy who was very personally affected, like lost 95% of his company staff, and he was a spokesperson, the front runner of this whole merger. If that goes to show you that there's a little bit of like humanity left in the world and like level of forgiveness, I think that guy's leading the charge. Jimmy Dune.
Hey, good job, Jimmy.
But
I mean, you
crazy.
got to be a hell of a salesman to get those two to go come to agreements.
Over WhatsApp. It was a WhatsApp message. Hey, we should talk.
Man, 2023. Wild times. Imagine telling somebody from the 80s, go back to 1988 and say, hey, you just had a giant merger between the PGA and a Saudi golf league through WhatsApp messages.
Over what? Let's say 88. What is that? Instant aim? I don't even know if aim was out yet.
What's an app?
Yeah, right. They're still talking about what's a computer, what's internet, right? But so yes, so lots of breaking news with that. I am on the side of I think this is great for the game of golf. I think it was well overdue. I think this is one of those things that you're just like, it was inevitable, right? I do also think that with Jay Montague, the PGA Tour commissioner, having a lot more controlling interest, I also see an angle where he liquidates Live and Greg Norman gets a fat payday and looks up and be like, hey, at least I stirred the pot. I could see that
Yeah.
clearly happening. Um, and again, with the details not being released yet, you don't really know. Um, but I think it's great. And it's coming on the week of you have the open this week. Wait, no, what is this week? Yeah, you have the US Open this week.
That's
And that was a major, so live golfers were already playing in this one. Um, big news. And you have Brooks Koepka, who I still think it was
on
Brooks'
him.
I still think it was his performance that really kind of like made everyone be like, all right, there's something wrong because there's how does the guy who tied for second in the Masters, won PGA championship, how is he not in the world rankings? Oh, it's because he plays for Live Golf? That doesn't make any sense.
No, it's just petty, honestly.
Right. And speaking of petty, Rory has been super petty about all of this. I can't accept
That's the
that.
payday he missed by staying loyal to the PGA for what?
Could you?
That's for you, Rory.
And then they keep saying, like, oh, Rory and Tiger are going to be compensated. It's like, those aren't the guys you need to compensate. Rory and
Yeah,
Tiger were going to be good without Live or PGA. It's the Matt Fitzpatricks. It's the Victor Hall. It's the Joel Damon. Those guys who aren't making those money and are missing cuts, and they stayed loyal to you. Those are the guys who I'd be. John Rahms,
yeah. Rom's doing pretty good for himself too, though. But
right?
yeah,
So I don't know. What's your kind of thoughts on the whole merger?
yeah. I think it's good for golf. It's got people talking about golf. It expands it. I wouldn't be surprised to see the PGA start playing more international tournaments. I think it's a way that they're bringing the whole world into golf, even more so than just during the Ryder Cup and Olympics. You just can get a golf tournament all over the country. You can have one down in Brazil. Just start having once a month an international tournament. I don't think the players would be that upset about traveling to Greece for a weekend or going to Brazil to play for a weekend. Why not bring the whole world in? They want to make more money. It's a way they can make more money. Golf fans will want to travel to those events.
I think that's a really good point you bring up. I do think more international events and more crossover events are good for the game of golf.
Yeah. And what can it hurt? All you're going to do is get more exposure, create a larger fan base, taking money from different locations. And all they aren't shy about the fact that there's a business to them. It's what this whole big fight's been about.
Money.
Yeah, that's what it all comes down to.
I
But
mean, even the NFL is going to, London, right? Like even they figured that out, right? Like
they had the game in Mexico City on that terrible field that what 4 players tore their ACL, 5 players tore their ACL, something in that game.
yeah, that was Kyler, right? That was Kyler's last game.
I think so. Yeah.
And it was at like ridiculous sea levels. Yeah, altitudes, yeah. That's what I was looking for. Um Yeah, and I think the other thing is too, it's like you look at a lot of those majors that were having the Masters and the PGA Championship. It wasn't like, okay, yeah, Brooks did well, but there were multiple players that were in top tens from Live Golf. And
Cool.
again, how do you say? I think the biggest thing this is just going to help the world golf rankings. All right, yes, I love that Ricky Fowler has jumped lots of places, and I'm glad that he's doing well again. But you have to ask yourself, would he be doing that well if those guys from Live were on the tour? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
that's the thing is, again, how do you have the guy who just won PGA Championship? How do you have a guy? How do you have those guys and they're not world ranked?
This doesn't make sense.
And then you go back to like the Ryder Cup stuff. Like those guys aren't on Ryder Cup teams right now. Like forget that we're playing for your country at this point, right?
Yeah,
Like
it doesn't have anything to do with PGA, LIV. It's just for America. It's for
so.
USA.
So I think it's good for the game of golf. I'm hoping for a big and again, I think we even said it back at the PGA. We were like, we hope a live guy wins because it
Yeah,
just would. And I again, look what happened.
want them to start it hot.
That's it. And like again, look what everything is stemmed from that, right? And I love it. Brooks, he when he signed off from his media day today, he said, "Okay, I'll see you guys at the Travelers next week." It's like, what a sassy guy, Brooksy. Oh, he's like, "Yeah, I'm back. What's up? How are you guys doing?" And I think it's good. I mean, Brooks is on pace now. He wins. He wins this. If he finds a way to win, he's. I don't know if he's tied or ahead of, or at least tied with percentage of major wins as Tiger.
Oh,
That's an impressive stat.
yeah. Anytime that you're tied with or even mentioned in the same category as Tiger Woods,
That's pretty good golf.
yeah, that's something that you should be proud of.
I mean, I don't even care if it's had as many mistresses.
Yeah, that's still
I don't care.
not something to, hang your head on there.
No, no. Anytime you're in the same conversation as
Impressive
Tiger.
either way.
Oh, all right. Who? I think for me, who's your pick for the Open this week? Right off the rip, who's your pick?
Man, I think I'm gonna throw my money on Ram.
He's been playing great golf.
Yeah. I just don't know. I've only bet on him twice. Won once, finished, I think, finished third, missed by 2 strokes the other time. But I don't always bet on golf, but I just had a feeling I was going to throw some money on Ram this weekend.
I like that. At least a top 10 finish. I know that that'll get you. You'll
That's
probably it's
easy.
probably negative odds, but it
Yeah.
won't be like. But I love a top 10 finish. Weirdly enough, I feel like Cam Smith's gonna win. I feel like Cam Smith. We're gonna see that mullet and mustache just holding up that trophy.
That'd be awesome.
All right, a little bit of time left here. I do last kind of thing I want to talk about. Then, if you have anything you want to bring up, I thought this was actually really cool. Baseball. The A's did a reverse boycott.
I saw that.
I love this. I love
What
this.
was it, $30,000 to give out 7,000 T-shirts
Yeah,
outside the stadium that said "sell the team" or just "sell"?
yeah. Um, what's your thoughts on this?
And it's frustrating as a fan. Your owners, they're taking your money. They don't care. They're not trying to put a quality product out there. They're not trying to win. They aren't emotionally invested. They
And they're
don't.
saying it's the fans' fault.
Yeah, and then they're going to blame it on the fans. Like, no, you guys spend less than freaking the Yankees do on 2 out of their 5 starting pitchers on the whole damn team. How in the world are you going to consider that trying to put out a winning product? You can't. It's terrible. But I mean, Indians don't spend much more, so Guardians, excuse me, I'll never get that one right. But it is what it is. At least we find a way to draft good players, and we try to hold on to them as long as we can in that first contract before they end up getting their first payday, and we're $100 million short of every big market team's offer. But every once in a while, you get a Jose Ramirez that just says, "Man, where I come from, 250 million, 350 million, it's all the same. We'll never worry about money again, and I love it here."
Yeah, I
But
would say, yeah, I think it's one of the most hilarious things that you could ever have in baseball is the fans putting on something
boycott.
like that. I thought it was great. I thought it's great. That's classic. And like ESPN was saying, it's like, the only really bad thing it does is It gives the A's more money, but it just shows that it's not the fan. Because again, how can you blame your fans? How can you blame your fans? That's just not cool.
Yeah,
And
it doesn't make sense. So
no,
what you got for some number 25 athletes? You got a list over there, you write a few down.
yeah, you go with yours first.
So probably my personal favorite gonna be Jim Tomey. I couldn't tell you how many times as a kid I imitated him pointing out towards center field, adjusting the cup, getting down in the stands, and just dipping and ripping. I wasn't even left-handed, but I swung left-handed just to try to look like him and Griffey sometimes.
Um,
And another one is one of the most exciting basketball players to ever watch, in my opinion. One of the best dunkers of all time, Vince
dude,
Carter.
that's who mine was. That's 100% who mine was. Vinsanity. Another one was uh yeah, right. I still have that poster of him dunking over that Lithuanian guy. I have that.
Yeah,
The other one, uh forgot about him, but one of the best lockdown corners in the game, Legion of Boom, Richard Sherman, baby.
heck yeah. Another another Cleveland great. Remember watching Cleveland Cavs basketball on my radio TV with a little like 3-4 inch black and white screen. Mark Price being out there killing it. Just couldn't get past the Bulls and Jordan, but man, there were some pretty good Cavs teams there.
What a legend. And then my last one was, I think this guy, I mean, should be in the Hall of Fame. But I know with steroids, Sammy Sosa. I mean,
Another one, the original Big Mac, Mark McGuire, is also another 25. Both those bombers from that time.
dude, remember just you used to tune in to watch those guys hit home run because you're like, this is the one where they break the record, and then they're like, oh my god, they're breaking another one. Like,
Yeah. And they just kept
and I feel
going.
like they were just right back and forth, wasn't it?
Baseball was fun then.
Just keep the roids, keep bringing the roids in. Let's
Did
go.
all the rule changes. Let them juice.
Let them juice. Let them juice. It's more exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, that was good baseball. Those guys going up the
I
bat.
guarantee you, if you go back, I don't even have to look. I guarantee you that viewership was at like an all-time high, late 90s, early 2000s.
Oh, 100%. Had to be, right? I know I was tuned in.
Great baseball.
Um,
Cool.
oh, all right. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in and watching. Robbie, it's a pleasure as always, my friend.
Always a
Um,
blast.
I will see you next week, but everyone else, please, 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 please like, share, subscribe. Um,
Buy some merch.
buy some merch. You can head over to our merch store.
Before I
Uh,
had that on there.
yes, and yeah, just thanks. Thanks for all your support. Thanks for everyone that tunes in. Thanks for watching our videos. It really does mean a lot, and we couldn't do it without you guys. So um, we love you guys, and don't forget, always remember to keep the change.